There's pretty privilege and then there's pretty punishment. But you kind of get them at the same time. The more prettier you get, the more punishment and the more privilege you get.
Pretty privilege is not a real privilege, and it sort of doesn't exist.
Think if I was that good looking, I would just be an idiot. Like you would get by on your looks. It would be so easy.
Pretty privilege is real. I didn't understand it until I lost it.
Before TSW, I was content with how I looked. Not obsessed, not insecure, just normal. Then suddenly, my appearance wasn't mine anymore, and I realised something deeply uncomfortable. People treat you differently when you don't look acceptable. Not just day to day. Look at the media. Look at Instagram. Who gets opportunities? Who gets praised? There's a pattern, and we all see it. But it also forced me to confront something in myself. How much of my confidence was tied to how I looked. How much I valued perceived beauty without even realising it. When you can't rely on how you look, you find out who you really are.
People love to say beauty is only skin deep. They say personality is what matters the most. Confidence is what really counts, and that people should be judged only by their character. But you see, this real life that we live in, it teaches us something different. The first few minutes a person enters a space, it tends to determine how people perceive them, how people treat them, even before their personality gets a chance to prove a point. And that happens everywhere, all around us. A simple selfie gets all the praises. A glow up gets treated like it is a life upgrade. You see a stylish person walk into a room and takes all the attention. And yes, comments focus more on looks before they even focus on what the video is actually about. And people say looks don't matter. But real life tells us a different story. And that story is pretty privilege. Pretty privilege is the quiet advantage that comes from fitting society's beauty standard. It's quiet. It's not because attractive people are automatically better, smarter, or kinder, but it's because people often train them like they are like that. They are smart people and all that. Not to say pretty people are not smart. Of course, there are very smart ones out there. But they get more warmth, more attention, more second chances, and more benefits of the doubt. And whether people want to admit it or not, it changes lives. It shows up everywhere. For instance, in dating, attractive people often get more chances before they even have the chance to earn it. At work, they may seem as more polished and more competent, even more likable. On social media, average content can get extraordinary praise if the person posting it is someone considered to fit the beauty standard, that quiet beauty standard of society. Now, the same behavior can be judged completely differently depending on who is doing it. One person will do it, they'll say, oh, she's bold. Another, they say, oh, she's too much. One person is confident, they say the other is arrogant. Same energy, different phrase, different reaction. And that is what makes pretty privilege so powerful. It's a powerful tool. It often works before anybody can even realize it is happening. But here is the twist.
Models have a tendency to marry guys in finance in New York. It's very fascinating. So I've represented a lot of models and I've represented a lot of men in finance married to models. And what I will tell you is when you are in a relationship with an extraordinarily beautiful person, there are unique challenges that come with that, because there is such a thing as pretty privilege or handsome privilege or living in the bubble, whatever you want to call it. When you are an extremely attractive man or woman, you definitely get a different level of treatment. People tend to talk to you as if you were very intelligent because they just want to be in your orbit. And they really do want, even though they may or may not think you're actually intelligent. And I've had some incredibly, beautiful and handsome clients who are models or actors who actually are incredibly intelligent. It's shocking to me because I look at them and I think if I was that good looking, I would just be an idiot. Like you would get by on your looks. It would be so easy. But many of these people are very, very intelligent people. But there is a tremendous amount of deference that people give to you. And you also don't really know people's agendas very well. I mean, it's really like being a publicly wealthy person. You don't know if people are being nice to you and talking to you and wanting to be friends with you because they can get something from you, or because they could sleep with you and you're very attractive, or they just want to be in the orbit of this very attractive person.
Here are some signs you're being punished for being pretty. From my personal experience, these are just some of the things that I have noticed and recognized whenever I started feeling better about myself, because I feel like being pretty isn't about always the way you look. It's about being authentically yourself and accepting yourself, and you know, being yourself so much that you like shine from within. So here's some signs, and I don't necessarily think this is pretty punishment, but it does happen a lot. Sign number 1, people will stare at you and don't even care. They will just stare at you. You go out to eat, you are out with friends, people, they just stare. And sometimes they're staring with envy, sometimes they're staring with, you know, intimidation. Sometimes they're staring because they're trying to learn from you, like they're trying to study you. And it can get overwhelming at times, but eventually you kind of just learn how to act like you don't see them and tune it out, you know? Sign number 2, people go silent when you enter the room. If they're talking, or if they were actively looking at each other before and then you enter, they will like kind of just go silent and act like you're not there. People love to act like you're not there. That is how you know that you are beautiful or that you're very pretty, because people will try to purposely act like they don't see you, like go out of their way. Sign number 3, some people will never compliment your beauty. They will compliment everything else but your beauty. Like instead of being like, you're so gorgeous, or you're so pretty, or you're so beautiful, they will say your makeup looks good, or your outfit is nice, or you know, your hair is nice. Number 4, you will get those friends that really don't actually want to be your friend. They just want you around because you probably make them look good, or they know that you attract a lot of eyes, so they will purposely want you around them all the time so that it can amplify their aura or like themselves, so they'll always want you around them. Typically the signs that your friend is using you for your presence or for your beauty is they'll never invite you to real events that are tied to their personal life. Like they always want to see you out, or they always want to see you here or there. This one is the biggest sign that you're being punished for being pretty. I get this one a lot recently. I've been getting this one a lot. And also this is just a reminder to watch your drink, watch your food, pray over your food. Okay? Because the closer you get to yourself, the more people get irritated, the more people start to envy you, the more people start to do crazy stuff. So just always be watchful and mindful of your food, your drinks, whatever, anything that is given to you, be watchful of it. So the last sign is people will go out of their way to purposely give you a bad experience. Like, for example, you know, the other day I went to get a coffee and I asked for honey in my coffee. This girl put water in the honey and said, I just wanted to put water into your honey so that it can melt the honey. Since when do you put water in honey? It doesn't even mix. I was like, okay, thank you. I poured out the water in front of her and just took the honey. Another example is I went out one day and I don't drink, so I always get mocktails, but this bartender girl, she was serving everybody, scooping the ice with the cup, scooping the ice with the scoop. But for my ice, she grabbed it with her hands. She literally grabbed it with her hands. And because I watched that, I immediately was like, no. I was like, no. No, thank you. You can have that drink. Okay? Also, I would like to add that I wind up ordering another drink from the bartender next to her, and she was staring at that bartender while she was making my drink the entire time, to the point where that bartender was like, hey, can you ring her up for a mocktail? And she started getting cups ready like she was gonna make my drink again. And I said, no, you're not making my drink again. She just said, ring me up for the mocktail. It was crazy how much she was watching that drink. Another encounter was I saw these two women just staring at me with a very envious stare. And when I mean envious stare, every single woman, you will start to pick up that they have this same stare when they envy you. It's kind of just like it's very evil. And there was two girls that were staring at me like that, and I saw it. Maybe 5 minutes later, hey, this is a free shot, do you want it? I said, no thank you. No thank you. You're not gonna offer me anything, and you were giving me that type of energy. So that is pretty punishment, okay? There's pretty privilege and then there's pretty punishment, but you kind of get them at the same time. The more prettier you get, the more punishment and the more privilege you get. So you just have to be very wise and mindful and watchful, because a lot of women out here, they can be so jealous till it starts to get dangerous for you. So just be very careful.
There's a lot of talk about pretty privilege online, but I think that comes with a downside that not a lot of people discuss. Like, I know a fair amount of attractive people, have dated a few. And one common complaint that they have, like romantically, is while they have a lot of people coming at them, they have a lot of options, right? A lot of the time, the people who are approaching them are viewing them as an object. In other words, they're not really looking to get to know them for real. They're more so just wanting to experience them. They're looking at them through the lens of lust. So the problem then becomes knowing how to sift through the options and see who wants to get to know you for real, who's actually interested in you, and who's just waiting for their turn. Like, I've heard women complain about this, like when they go on dates, the guy who they're with doesn't even ask them questions, right? And I know some men have the same experience. Like, the person really isn't into you. They're not curious about you. They're not wondering about you. They're just kind of caught up in how you look. And having your time and attention is basically an ego boost. While on the other side, if you're not conventionally attractive, yeah, you may not have so many people interested in you, but you know when you do come across somebody that's interested, their intentions are normally more pure. So it's not like one side is easier than the other. It's like both sides have different problems.
All this discourse about pretty privilege, so I wanted to put down my arguments on why I think pretty privilege is not a real privilege, and it sort of doesn't exist. Now, I'm not saying that you have never experienced it, but I'm saying that it is not a structural and really a privilege, and let me explain to you why. So what is a privilege? According to the Cambridge Dictionary, a privilege is defined as an advantage that a person or group of people has, usually because of their position or because they're rich. And the examples given are, healthcare should be a right, not a privilege. And the second one is, senior management enjoys certain privileges such as company cars and health insurance. Now, what I want you to see the difference here, the difference between, let's say, white privilege and male privilege and pretty privilege, is that the former is fixed and structural privilege that is not based on someone else's opinions. They are based on class, position, and power. But then let's talk about pretty privilege. It's inconsistent, it's subjective, and it changes from person to person, culture to culture, and room to room. And when I was really thinking about it, I kind of started thinking that in the situation of pretty privilege, the power is less in your hands and more in the hands of the person giving you that privilege. And this privilege can be snatched from you at any given point of time. Whereas with something as white privilege or male privilege, that cannot be snatched from you. And the power seems to be more in the hands of you than the people that need to recognize your privilege. You seem to be more powerful than the person that is perceiving you. But with pretty privilege, the power is not in your hands, is it? So is it really a privilege? It's not a privilege. It's a conditional approval. An approval that can be taken away at any time without your permission. I believe that privilege is something that cannot be snatched from you in that way. So as a girl, I want you, other girls who are, if you're listening to this, I want you to Think more about investing in some sort of privilege that cannot be snatched from you. The privilege of you being a kind person. The privilege of having knowledge, having intelligence, and being able to analyze a situation and having that power to discern. That's a privilege that nobody can take from you. And that is a kind of privilege that we should focus more on. And I would also argue that when it comes to pretty privilege, the privilege is less on you and more on how the other person treating us good can benefit from us. I feel like there's always an ulterior motive when pretty privilege is being exercised or it's being, you're witnessing it. But I don't think that's the same with any other kind of privilege. The other kinds of privilege, they have an establishment that forces others to give you that privilege, irrespective of their personal beliefs. Hopefully that makes sense.
Pretty privilege is not just a win-win situation. It also has a downside also. For people who are attractive, it can create the pressure of trying to stay attractive. Now, you want to stay slim, you want to stay young, you want to stay choosing, to stay worth noticing. Some people stop even seeing you for who you are. Now they start to see the packaging. So yes, beauty does open doors, but it can also trap people inside expectations. And there is one other side of it also. Those who do not fit the beauty standard. For them, pretty privilege does not just look like someone else having an easier life. It can feel like being overlooked, being underestimated, or even invisible in some cases. Now, this is what forced a lot of people to try to be more funny. People are kinder, more useful, and more successful. Of course, to be successful is a good thing, but they do not do it just because they want to get ahead of other people. They just want to get treated normally. And that is where pretty privilege stops being a beauty topic and becomes a human one. And this is why a lot of people become obsessed with glow apps because, deep down, many are not just chasing beauty. They are chasing better treatment.
I'll be the first to admit, I got cosmetic surgery to keep a man. So I'm going to do a quick story time of why I got cosmetic surgery in order to keep my husband. So when I first got married, I thought that I was my husband's type. I thought that he was attracted to me because he said he was. But throughout our marriage, he would always tell me how he was attracted to BBW women, more full-figured, voluptuous women. I was pretty young, so I didn't really realize that he was kind of grooming me to get comfortable with the idea of him talking about other women, which later led to him asking if we wanted to be poly. He would send me a lot of different pictures on Instagram of different Instagram models who had BBLs, who had their butts really big, and he would say things like, "You will look so good like this." Something in my spirit didn't feel well when he used to send me these things, but I wanted to just go along with it, be the cool wife. He would give these backhanded compliments like, "You are my dream woman, you look so good, but imagine if you got this surgery done to your butt." He would say it so often that I began to believe that I needed it. And I would also start looking at these other women's like, okay, this is my husband's type. This is who I'm going to be with forever. I might as well give him what he wants. I was programmed to believe that because I was married, I had to give him what he wanted. So I convinced myself that I actually wanted the surgery for myself. I started looking in the mirror like, wow, April, yes, you'll look so good if your stomach was much flatter and your butt was wider and if you finally had some hips. The brainwashing was real. I began to become really consumed by the thoughts of getting this surgery in order to please him. So I went ahead and did it. He was happy with the results, but that didn't stop there. My BBL surgery was the worst pain I've ever endured. It was actually worse than all 3 of my labors with my children. He did not care. Even though he waited on me hand and foot and he saw how much pain I was in every day, he proceeded to ask me the very first week of recovery, will I be willing to go through a round 2? Meaning take more fat out and transfer it again before I'm even done healing. And here I am, 1 week in recovery, wondering about getting a second round BBL just to keep him happy. There is much more to this story that I can add, so let me know if you want a part 2. But I came on here to say that if your goal is to try to satisfy the male ego, please stop. It's literally impossible. I am not saying that I am against plastic surgery. I'm just simply saying never get it to satisfy the male ego because it is impossible. I've been so hesitant about making this video because obviously it's super vulnerable, but someone needed to hear this. I just want to reassure you that your husband, your soulmate, your divine masculine that God has made for you, he would never ask you to change anything about yourself. If you decide to change anything about your physical appearance, he will support you, yes, but he would never make it seem like it's an absolute necessity. Don't let yourself be persuaded like I did, because if this was my decision, my surgery would have probably came out much better. I would have went to the doctor I actually wanted to. I would have spent more time doing more research. I would have healed properly because I would have got all the massages I was supposed to get. My healing process has not been the best. And I know it's because this was totally out of alignment with who I really am. So I'm not against plastic surgery. There's work that I'll still do, but make sure you're doing it for you.
So what is the best way to take advantage of this? You don't have to become fake. You don't have to lose yourself trying to look like somebody else. You need to understand that presentation matters. This is the key. If you are naturally attractive, be aware of the advantage and do not confuse it with superiority. You need to use it with humility because other people get to be affected differently. Now, if you are not someone who fits that narrow beauty standard that society has created quietly, that does not mean you are powerless. You can still improve how you present yourself, your style, your grooming, your fitness, energy, confidence, your body language, how you speak, how you carry yourself. Because while you may not control the whole game, you can absolutely improve the way people receive you. And sometimes the smartest move is not to deny the system. It is to understand it, play it wisely without letting it define your worth. That is it. Do not let it define your worth.
Pretty privilege is real, but it is also one of the reasons many women remain financially broke. Yes, beauty can open doors, it can attract attention, it can create opportunities, but here is what we rarely talk about. When you're constantly rewarded for how you look, you may delay building what truly pays. And here is the ugly truth. If all you have is pretty, the world only values you until someone prettier walks in. Real power begins when your beauty becomes irrelevant because your value runs deeper. Listen carefully. Pretty privilege buys attention, but money, intelligence, competence, and status ain't respect. And respect lasts far longer than ever looks will. The most dangerous position for a woman is believing that her face is her future, because the glow up that truly matters is not in your jawline or your eyelashes. It's in your bank account, your investments, your reputation, your skills, and the fact that no one can replace you. Pretty privilege may get you into the room, but the substance is what keeps you there. And that is real power.
Pretty privilege is real, and it shouldn't be controversial by now. But the question should be how that truth affects people. Does it make attractive people too dependent on attention? Does it make less attractive people feel like they have to overperform just to belong? Or does it quietly shape who gets heard, loved, forgiven, or promoted? Probably yes. And maybe that is the most uncomfortable part of all, because society says everyone has equal value, while everyday life often rewards people very differently based on their appearance. So no, pretty privilege is not jealousy, and it is not praise for just being beautiful either. It is a system of quiet advantage, quiet pressures, and quiet exclusions. And whether you benefit from it, you suffer under it, or sit somewhere in the middle, nobody actually escapes it. That is the ugly truth. Have you ever seen pretty privilege hurt someone or help someone? Drop your thoughts in the comment section and subscribe to The Ugly Truth for more honest commentary on beauty, bias, and social reality.